The apartment still smells like fresh paint and emptiness. I sit on my single piece of furniture, a leather recliner I bought yesterday, and stare at the phone in my hand. 6 months have passed since the call that ended my marriage, but the memory remains sharp as broken glass. I should have seen it coming. Looking back now, the signs were everywhere, scattered like breadcrumbs leading to betrayal. But when you're working 14-hour days at Midwest Manufacturing, pulling double shifts to keep your wife happy, you don't notice the small things. You don't see how her thank you becomes mechanical, how her kisses turn into obligations, how her eyes glaze over when you talk about your day at the plant. Melissa hadn't worked in 3 years. Just until I figure out what I want to do, she'd said. And I'd believed her. Why wouldn't I? I was raised to believe that a man provides, that love means sacrifice, that marriage is about building something together. So I provided. I sacrificed. I built our house in Dayton wasn't much, a 3-bedroom ranch in a decent neighborhood, but it was ours. Or so I thought. Every mortgage payment, every utility bill, every grocery receipt had my name on it. Melissa handled the decorating, filling rooms with furniture we couldn't afford, and knickknacks that served no purpose except to impress her Instagram followers. "You're so boring, Evan," she'd say, scrolling through her phone while I ate dinner alone again. "All you talk about is work." What else was there to talk about? Work was my life. Work paid for her yoga classes, her salon appointments, her weekly shopping trips to the mall. Work kept her in designer handbags while I wore the same steel-toed boots for 2 years. The warning signs intensified in the months before Vegas. She'd discovered some musician, Ryan Caldwell, a B-list R&B singer with more abs than talent. His posters appeared in our bedroom. His music played constantly. She'd spend hours watching his concert videos, commenting on his social media posts, acting like a teenager with a crush. "It's just fun," she'd insisted when I mentioned it felt excessive. "You don't understand because you have no imagination." Maybe she was right. I couldn't imagine that celebrity worship could destroy a 12-year marriage. When she announced the Vegas trip, my gut twisted. "Just a girls' weekend," she said, kissing my cheek with lips that tasted like lies. "Sarah's bachelorette party. You know I have to go." Sarah had been married for 2 years, but I didn't argue. Arguments led to days of silent treatment, and I had a major project deadline at work. I needed peace more than truth. She left Thursday morning, practically vibrating with excitement. Her suitcase contained clothes I'd never seen before, dresses that cost more than my work boots, heels that could pay a utility bill. She'd been planning this for months, I realized later, every detail choreographed. The call came Saturday night. I was in bed, exhausted from overtime, when my phone rang at 11:47 p.m. Melissa's ringtone, our wedding song, how's that for irony, pulled me from near sleep. Her voice was drunk, loud, background music pounding. "Baby, you'll never guess what happened." I sat up, instantly alert. "What's wrong? Are you okay?" "I'm amazing. I'm at Lux Lounge, and you'll never believe who's here. Ryan Caldwell. The actual Ryan Caldwell. He bought our table bottles, and he's been flirting with me all night." My stomach dropped. "That's great, Mel. Maybe you should head back to the hotel." "Hotel?" She laughed, high and cruel. "Why would I do that? He invited me to his suite. His private suite at the Cosmopolitan." The words hung between us, miles of distance and years of marriage compressing into this single moment. "Melissa, you're drunk. You're not thinking clearly." "I'm thinking perfectly clearly." Her voice hardened, the way it did when I disappointed her. "I'm going to sleep with him, Evan. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. "Hello? Are you there?" She sounded annoyed now. "Look, don't make this weird. You'll get over it. Hell, if you had the chance with some celebrity, I'd let you do the same." "No, you wouldn't," I thought. "You'd destroy me for even looking at another woman." "It's just intimacy," she continued, music getting louder. "It doesn't mean anything. We've been married 12 years. That matters more than one night, right?" I found my voice, surprised by how calm it sounded. "You're really going to do this?" "He's waiting for me right now. His bodyguard is literally holding the car door open." She giggled. "God, this is so exciting. You understand, right? Tell me you understand." I understood perfectly. 12 years, thousands of overtime hours, every sacrifice I'd made, none of it mattered. I was a paycheck, a stability provider, a boring background character in the movie of her life. "Have fun, Melissa." "Really? You're not mad?" she asked. "Have fun," I repeated and hung up. She called back immediately. I didn't answer. She called 6 more times, left 3 voicemails I deleted without listening. Then the texts started, alternating between justification and accusation, as if I was the unreasonable one. I sat in our bedroom, surrounded by Ryan Caldwell posters, and felt something fundamental shift inside me. The hurt was there, sharp and deep, but underneath it, something else emerged. Clarity. Purpose. I walked to the kitchen, made coffee, and opened my laptop. 4 days. She'd be gone 4 days. That was plenty of time. That was the moment I stopped being her husband and started being her reckoning. Sunday morning arrived with surprising clarity. No tears, no rage, just a cold efficiency I didn't know I possessed. Melissa had made her choice in Vegas. Now, I would make mine. First call, Jim Crawford, a lawyer who'd handled my co-worker's divorce. Sunday morning wasn't normal business hours, but guys who work factory shifts know other guys who work odd hours. Jim answered on the 3rd ring. "Evan?" "What's wrong?" he asked. "I need to know my options." "Fast," I replied. We met at a Denny's an hour later. Jim looked over our financial documents while eating scrambled eggs, occasionally whistling low. "Everything's in your name," he said. "The house, the car, all bank accounts. You've been the sole income for 3 years?" "Yes," I replied. "And she admitted to adultery?" "You have proof?" he asked. I showed him the text messages she'd sent after the call, trying to justify her decision. One literally said, "I'm doing this whether you approve or not." Jim smiled grimly. "Ohio's a no-fault state, but adultery still matters for asset division. Since you've been the sole provider and everything's in your name, you have significant leverage." "The house, you bought it before marriage?" 2 years before, I replied. "Even better. It's separate property, just appreciated during marriage. You could sell it tomorrow if you wanted." "Actually," I said, "that's exactly what I plan to do." The next 3 days blurred together in a symphony of efficiency. Mike Harrison, a cash buyer who specialized in quick closings, had been leaving flyers in our mailbox for months. Melissa always threw them away. I called him Sunday afternoon. "I need to close by Wednesday," I told him. "That's impossible. Cash deal, below market, value. No inspection contingency," I replied. "How much below market?" he asked. "We settled on $15,000 below appraisal. I'd lose money, but I'd gain something worth more. Freedom." Mike had the paperwork drawn up within hours. Monday morning, I called in sick to work, first time in 3 years. Instead, I went to the bank. The joint account held $32,000, my overtime bleeding into savings while Melissa bought designer handbags. The teller didn't blink when I withdrew it all. My name was primary. I didn't need permission. The credit cards were next. All in my name, Melissa listed as an authorized user. I removed her authorization, then called to report the cards stolen. New ones would arrive at my office later this week. The movers came Monday afternoon. Just the essentials, I told them, but as we walked through the house, I realized almost everything was essential, because I'd paid for it. The TV, the furniture, the kitchen appliances. Melissa had contributed throw pillows and wall art from Home Goods. I left those Tuesday was for logistics. I'd already accepted a position with Titan Manufacturing in Columbus, a job I'd been pursuing quietly for 6 months. Better pay, better benefits, better hours. I'd hesitated because Melissa didn't want to leave Dayton, didn't want to leave her yoga studio and her book club and her mother who lived 20 minutes away. Those weren't my problems anymore. I signed. The lease on a Columbus apartment site unseen, just photos and a video walkthrough. It was clean, modern, and most importantly, mine. Throughout it all, Melissa's texts kept coming. Photos from Vegas, her with other girls, strategically cropped. Captions like, "Living my best life and what happens in Vegas." Each one felt like another nail in the coffin of our marriage. Her Instagram told a more complete story. There she was at Lux Lounge, tagged in photos with her friends. There was a glimpse of Ryan Caldwell in the background of one shot, confirmation that her story was at least partially true. Her latest post from Tuesday morning showed her by the pool. Last day in paradise. Not ready to go back to reality. Reality, I thought, packing the last box, is going to be very different than you expect. Wednesday morning, the house closing happened at 9 a.m. Mike Harrison handed me a cashier's check. We signed papers, and 12 years of memories became someone else's property. I drove through the neighborhood one last time, past the park where we'd talked about having kids, past the coffee shop where we'd had our first fight, past the life I'd built for someone who treated it like a consolation prize. By noon, everything I owned was in a U-Haul headed to Columbus. By 2 p.m., I was following in my truck, the one thing besides the house that had been mine before marriage. My phone sat silent in the cup holder. I'd blocked Melissa's number after, sending one final text. "Your flight lands at 8 p.m. There's an envelope on the door. The house is sold. Don't contact me." Then I drove away from Dayton, watching it shrink in my rearview mirror. I thought I'd feel something: sadness, anger, regret. Instead, I felt what I imagine skydivers feel stepping out of a plane, terrified and exhilarated and completely, utterly alive. The envelope I'd left contained divorce papers, a cashier's check for $5,000, enough for a security deposit and first month's rent somewhere, and a printed screenshot of her text admitting to adultery. Nothing else. No long letter explaining my feelings, no dramatic declaration of war. Just the facts, just the consequences. My phone had been off for 2 hours, but I knew the storm was coming. Let it. I'd weathered 12 years of her moods, her demands, her casual cruelty disguised as honesty. I could weather this too. The Columbus skyline appeared as the sun set, painting the buildings gold. Somewhere behind me, Melissa was probably in an Uber, excited to tell me about her weekend, planning to test my reaction to see how much she could get away with. She'd walk up to our door, see the envelope, and her world would shift the way mine had 4 nights ago. I pulled into my new apartment complex at 7:45 p.m., 15 minutes before her plane would land. The movers had already unloaded everything, stacking boxes in neat rows in my empty living room. I stood in the doorway, looking at my possessions without her influence, and smiled. 4 days. That's all it took to dismantle 12 years. But then again, she'd destroyed it all in one phone. Call. I was just cleaning up the debris. The calls started at 8:23 p.m. I sat in my new apartment, eating Chinese takeout from a place down the street, watching my silenced phone light up with Melissa's face, a photo from our last anniversary, her smiling like she loved me. 17. Calls in the first hour. Then the texts began flooding in. "What the hell, Evan? Where is everything? This isn't funny. You can't do this. Answer your phone." I finished my lo mein, turned on the TV, and started unpacking books. The phone continued its silent light show on the coffee table, a one-woman fireworks display of rage. By 10 p.m., the tone shifted. "Please call me back. We need to talk about this. You're overreacting. It didn't mean anything. I was drunk. It was a mistake." By midnight, she'd moved to threats. "I'm calling a lawyer. You can't sell my house. I'll take everything. You'll be sorry. I finally turned the phone off and went to bed in my new bedroom with its bare walls and single piece of furniture, a mattress on the floor. It was the best sleep I'd had in years. Thursday morning brought reality. I'd taken a personal day to get settled, but I couldn't avoid the digital storm forever. I turned on my phone to find 47 missed calls, 186 text messages, and 23 voicemails. I deleted them all without reading or listening, then called Jim Crawford. "She's already called 3 lawyers," he said, sounding amused. "They all told her the same thing. She has no case. The house was yours, the money was yours, you left her $5 grand. That's more than required." What about spousal support? For a woman who voluntarily didn't work for 3 years while capable, who committed adultery. She can try, but no judge in Ohio will give her anything significant. Maybe a few months to get on her feet. Maximum. The next call was from her mother. "Helen, I actually answered that one." "Evan, sweetheart, what happened?" "Melissa is hysterical. Ask your daughter what happened in Vegas, Helen," I replied. Silence. Then, "She said there was a misunderstanding. She called me to announce she was going to sleep with another man. That's not a misunderstanding. But to sell the house." "To leave her with nothing?" she asked. "I left her $5,000 and her personal belongings. That's $5,000 more than she contributed to our marriage in the last 3 years. That's cruel, Evan. You know she's been trying to find herself." She stammered. She found herself in Ryan Caldwell's hotel room. I found myself, too, in Columbus, starting over. I hung up. Helen called back 6 times. I blocked her number. The social media explosion began Thursday afternoon. Melissa posted a carefully crafted narrative on Facebook. "After 12 years of marriage, I come home from a weekend trip to find my house sold and my husband gone. No warning, no discussion. This is what emotional abuse looks like." The comments poured in. Her book club friends and yoga acquaintances offering support and outrage. But then something interesting happened. People who knew us both started pushing back. Tom from work commented, "Maybe tell them why he left Melissa." Sarah, whose fake bachelorette party had been the cover story, wrote, "There was no bachelorette party. Stop lying." My brother Mike went nuclear. "You called him to brag about cheating. He has the texts. Delete this before he sues you for libel." By Friday, her post was gone, but the damage to her reputation was done. Our mutual friends were choosing sides, and surprisingly, most chose mine. Turns out I wasn't the only one who'd noticed how she treated me. They'd just been too polite to say anything. Friday afternoon, I started my new job at Titan Manufacturing. The hiring manager, Dave, shook my hand and said, "We've been trying to steal you from Midwest for 2 years. Whatever finally convinced you to leave, I'm glad it happened." The work was similar, but the environment was completely different. People actually went home on time here. They talked about hobbies, families, lives outside the plant. When someone asked if I was married, I simply said, "Divorced," and nobody pressed for details. That evening, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Is this Evan?" A male voice, uncertain. "Who's asking?" I asked. "This is Ryan Caldwell." I almost laughed. "The singer?" "Yeah, look, man. Your wife, ex-wife, she's been blowing up my social media, sending hundreds of messages, telling people we're together, showing up at my hotel." "Not my problem," I replied. I know. I just wanted you to know that nothing happened." I paused. "What?" "That night. Nothing happened. She came to my suite. Yeah, but she was sloppy drunk and crying about you. Kept showing me your picture, asking if she was making a mistake. I sent her back to her room. Nothing happened, man. I don't mess with married women." The irony was perfect. She'd destroyed our marriage for a fantasy that never even materialized. "Thanks for telling me," I said. "But it doesn't change anything. She made her choice when she went to that room." "I get it. Just thought you should know. And hey, I'm filing a restraining order against her. She's completely lost it. After he hung up, I sat in my empty apartment and laughed until my ribs hurt. All that destruction for nothing. She'd traded a marriage for a story to tell her friends. And even the story was a lie. The weekend brought more revelations. Janet, Melissa's best friend, called from a number I didn't recognize. She's staying with her parents, Janet said without preamble. She can't afford an apartment. Did you know she had $18,000 in credit card debt? On cards you didn't even know about? No, I said, though nothing surprised me anymore. She's been living a complete fantasy, Evan. Buying things for the image, for Instagram, for this imaginary life where she was some kind of influencer. She had 400 followers. Nobody cared except her. Why are you telling me this? Because I helped her pack her things from the house before the new owners moved in. You left all her stuff in the garage? Everything that was hers. It fit in my Honda Civic. 12 years of marriage and her entire contribution fit in my compact car. Janet paused. I'm sorry I didn't say something sooner. We all saw how she treated you. We should have said something. By Sunday, 1 week after the phone call that changed everything, I'd settled into a routine. Wake up without dread. Go to work where I was valued. Come home to peace. Cook dinner for one, a meal I actually wanted to eat. Watch what I wanted. On TV. Go to bed without arguing. My phone had been quiet for 2 days. The storm was passing. Melissa was someone else's problem now. Her parents, the credit card companies, her own. I'd removed myself from the equation so thoroughly that she had no leverage, no angle, no way back in. Sunday evening, I got one last text from a number I didn't recognize. The KFC on Main Street is hiring. I start Monday. I hope you're happy. I deleted it without responding. Whether she was at KFC or in a mansion, whether she was thriving or struggling, it no longer affected my life. I'd paid 12 years of dues to learn a simple lesson. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Tomorrow would be Monday. I'd go to my new job, earn my good salary, build my new life. Every day would be a little easier, a little better, a little further from the man who'd accepted so little for so long. The reckoning wasn't about revenge, I realized. It was about truth. The truth that I deserved better. The truth that walking away wasn't giving up. It was giving myself a chance. And the truth that the best response to betrayal isn't anger or retaliation. It's indifference. Complete, perfect, liberating indifference. 6 months later, I stand in my apartment brewing coffee in the machine I bought because I wanted it. The morning sun streams through windows I chose, illuminating furniture I selected in a space that reflects only my decisions. At Titan Manufacturing, I've been promoted to Senior Technical Specialist. Dave called me into his office last month. You've revolutionized our efficiency protocols. Corporate wants to implement your system company-wide. The raise was 40%. In 6 months, I've gone from drowning financially while supporting 2 people to thriving while supporting 1. My savings account has recovered and grown. I'm on track to buy a new place next year, something modern, with a garage for the motorcycle I'm considering. Evan! Carlos waves me over at lunch. Poker night Friday. You in? Absolutely. These friendships formed naturally, without the constant excuse-making. Sorry, Melissa doesn't like me out late. Now I just say yes or no based on what I want. Last week I bought a leather jacket. $300 for something impractical that I loved. The old Evan would have calculated overtime hours, worried about Melissa's reaction. The new Evan just bought it. You look good, Amy from accounting said at the company happy hour. She's been flirting subtly for 2 months. Red hair, quick laugh, reads actual books. She's training for a marathon, pushing limits after her own divorce. I'm not ready yet, but I'm getting there. My phone rings. Mom, how's Columbus treating you? Great, actually. I ran into Helen at Kroger. Melissa's working at KFC, day shifts, living in her childhood bedroom. I wait for satisfaction, for vindication. Instead, there's just neutrality. She's a stranger now, someone I used to know. She asked Helen to ask me to ask you. No, I told Helen that. But honey, are you okay? Really okay? Yeah, Mom. I really am. The anger dissolved months ago, replaced by gratitude. Not for the betrayal, but for the clarity it provided. I'd been sleepwalking through life, convinced that sacrifice equaled love. Thursday brings news. Tom texts. Ryan Caldwell filed a restraining order. Melissa showed up at 3 of his concerts. I forward it to my lawyer, then delete the thread. My indifference isn't performed. It's real. I've started reading again. Mark Aurelius speaks to me. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. I'm building something she could never understand, a life based on self-respect rather than external. Validation. The gym has become sanctuary. 5 a.m. workouts, nobody there but serious people doing serious work. I've dropped 20 pounds, added muscle. The mirror shows someone I recognize again. You're different, my brother Mike says over beer. It's like you're actually present now. I was underwater for so long I forgot what breathing felt like. She did a number on you. No, I did a number on myself. She just held up the mirror. This is the hardest truth. Melissa treated me exactly as badly as I allowed. Every boundary I failed to set, every time I chose peace over self-respect, I taught her I'd accept less. Friday afternoon, a text from Janet. She talks about you constantly. Says she made the biggest mistake of her life. Parents threatening to kick her out if she doesn't get therapy. Thought you should know she's suffering. I type several responses, delete them all, settle on. I hope she gets help. Because I do. Not from residual love, but because everyone deserves the chance to grow. Her journey isn't my concern anymore. Saturday, I drive to Dayton for a cousin's wedding. At the reception, I see Sarah, whose fictional bachelorette party started everything. Evan. You look amazing. Thanks, she's not here. Nobody invites her anywhere anymore. She burned every bridge. I wasn't wondering. I'm sorry I was part of the lie. Water under the bridge. The couple exchanges vows about partnership, building together. I listen without cynicism. Love exists. I just confused it with codependency. Real partnership means both people contribute. Sunday morning, I wake at 6 a.m. body trained to its new rhythm. Coffee, gym, meal prep, laundry. Simple tasks that feel like meditation. I'm considering finishing my engineering degree. Titan will pay for it. The future has possibilities now, not just obligations. The apartment is peaceful. Every item has its place because I decided where it belongs. There's a guitar in the corner I'm learning to play. Hobbies were wastes of money before. Now they're investments in joy. Carlos texts about dinner. Amy's coming too, if that's cool. It's cool. Everything's cool. Not perfect, but genuinely good in a way life hasn't been in over a decade. Tomorrow marks exactly 6 months since Vegas. Since the call. Since liberation disguised as betrayal. Tomorrow is just Monday, another day building forward instead of looking back. The best revenge is a life well lived. Not for show, but for the simple satisfaction of waking up free. Every good day is compound interest on the investment I made in myself when I chose to leave. Melissa gave me an unexpected gift that night. She showed me who she really was. More importantly, she forced me to see who I'd become. A shadow, a wallet, a supporting character in my own life. Now I'm the protagonist again. The story's quieter but infinitely more satisfying. I'm not living for anyone's approval, not sacrificing for anyone's comfort. I'm just living, fully, simply, authentically. And that's everything. The message comes through LinkedIn. Melissa Johnson, née Patterson, using her maiden name again. I know you'll delete this, but I need you to know I'm in therapy now. Real therapy. I understand what I did, not just Vegas, but everything. Years of taking you for granted, treating you like an ATM, dismissing your dreams. I see it now. I'm not asking for forgiveness or anything from you. I just wanted you to know I understand why you left that way. It was the only way. Your silence saved us both. Thank you for the 5,000. It saved me when I didn't deserve saving. No response needed. I don't send one. But I don't delete it either. Proof that people can grow even too late. A news alert. Ryan Caldwell announces retirement following harassment allegations. Multiple restraining orders, problematic behavior. I feel nothing, just mild interest. In any stranger's downfall, Amy and I have been dating 3 months. She has her own life, career, friends. We see each other by choice, not obligation. Partnership, not parasitism. You were married before? She asked last month. 12 years? What? Happened? I gave everything to someone who gave nothing back. Then she cheated. Do you hate her? No, you can't hate someone you nothing, and I nothing her completely. She laughed, then kissed me. Good. Hate means they still own real estate in your head. My finances are recovered. Emergency fund, maxed 401k, saving for a house while still living well. One person thriving costs less than 2 people living a lie. The divorce decree arrives. Uncontested clean break. She even waived appeal rights. Maybe she learned something. Maybe her parents threatened to cut her off. Doesn't matter. 1 year to the day after Vegas, I'm in Nashville with Amy. My phone buzzes. A reminder I'd blocked. Melissa's number a year ago. I delete it. Unnecessary now. You okay? Amy asks. Perfect, I say, and mean it. I used to think love meant giving everything. Now I know it means being with someone who would never ask you to. The best revenge isn't living well despite someone who wronged you. It's living so well you forget they wronged you at all. It's becoming someone who wouldn't tolerate that treatment for a single second. That day came and went without me noticing. I was too busy living to mark the moment when the past finally became the past. The man who sat in that bedroom, listening to his wife announce her betrayal, feels like a character from someone else's story. That man needed to believe sacrifice equaled love. This man knows better. What I lost was never mine. An illusion, a performance, a slow drowning disguised as swimming. What I gained was myself, and that's everything. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.